Episode 4 of Doubt starts with a flashback of Minna going to the mountain to get a bag full of cash for Youngmin. He gives Minna a bill in exchange and asks her to be ready for more opportunities in the future. As time goes by, Minna continues to do this until one day, she's not able to. Youngmin gets suspicious and accuses her of stealing the money, beating her up. The thing is, she actually does steal the bag, stuffing it in a locker. Unsurprisingly, Habin follows Minna around and makes a note of all the places she goes. Habin pledges to kill Minna as the episode moves back to the night on the train. After getting off at the station, Habin asks Minna and Ji-yeon to run in the opposite direction. The trio go to a motel room to hide from the cops, where Habin asks to join their gang. Minna tells Habin that she is soon going to leave the area, while Minna refuses to share her phone number, which infuriates Habin. She causes a scene and threatens to report them to the cops. The two get into a scuffle and Habin steals Minna's phone. After returning from the police station, Habin goes back to the motel, installing a GPS tracking software in the phone and setting up a bag for an elaborate attack. Habin calls Minna to the forest and offers to return her phone there. Coincidentally, it is the same spot where the skeleton of the teen girl was discovered by a villager. Tae-soo is shocked to discover that this may all be related and possibly the same perpetrator. Tae-soo reveals that Lee Soo-hyun, the former female friend of Habin, was the one who made the keychain. Young-won, Yeo-jin, and Young-soo discuss the two cases and try to find more information on Soo-hyun. Tae-soo is finding it hard to make sense of what is happening around him. Habin is about to meet Youngmin on the street when she notices the cops are tailing him. She texts Youngmin, asking him to be wary of the cops. Habin also tells him that she will meet once he is not being chased. The runaways living with Youngmin ask him for some allowance money, while he wonders who the snitch was, which causes Eun-jin to panic. At the police station, Yeo-jin tries to find a connection between Tae-soo and Youngmin. She talks to Dae-hong about this and wonders why the latter is being so defensive. That night, Tae-soo gets back home where he receives a call from the forensic officer. He is shocked to learn that the skeleton found in the forest is Lee Soo-hyun. Tae-soo tells Habin that the keychain has Soo-hyun's DNA on it and wants to know what happened. Tae-soo tells Habin that she needs to turn herself in to reduce her sentence due to her involvement. Habin calls the cops on her father instead, reporting him for domestic violence. The cops stop Tae-soo, but from inside the car, Habin calls her father and tells him to back off. A frustrated Tae-soo goes to Youngmin's house and discovers that Young-won is already there to arrest him in connection to Soo-hyun's murder. Youngmin warns the runaways about speaking to the cops and threatens to punish them like he punished Eun-jin. Tae-soo tells Young-won that Eun-jin is missing, but Youngmin lies that she has not returned since the police interrogation. Tae-soo notices Sun-hee watching from her window and interrogates her. He notices the bruises on her neck and asks her about Youngmin. Sun-hee refuses to reveal anything, but after Tae-soo leaves, Sun-hee tries to ignore the noise coming from the basement where Eun-jin is beaten and tied. At the police station, Young-won asks the profilers to deal with the runaway kids to find information about Soo-hyun. Tae-soo tries to talk to Habin, who is in child protection. Habin ignores Tae-soo, who's lurking around, and tries to get in touch with Youngmin, but the call does not connect. Tae-soo goes home and sits in Habin's room, thinking about her last words. The next day, Suk-moon tells Tae-soo that the bribery investigation has been dropped due to lack of evidence. Young-won asks Tae-soo to interrogate Youngmin, who is in the men's room. Tae-soo goes to the restroom first and asks Youngmin how he knows his daughter. Youngmin refuses to give a straight answer, but in the interrogation room, Tae-soo asks Youngmin questions about Soo-hyun, which he easily dodges, before turning to his father's domestic abuse. He claims that Youngmin tried to abuse the runaway kids, bluffing that Soo-hyun's body was found with bruises all over her to prove Youngmin abused and killed her. Youngmin gets overconfident and slips up, stating Soo-hyun was buried for a year. Youngmin goes silent, but they have no hard evidence to hold Youngmin. He asks the cops to keep an eye on Youngmin as he's released and sent home. Youngmin asks Sun-hee to be strong as Soo-hyun and Minna are both dead. He adds that Habin has his money and he's going to get it back. The following day, Young-won and Young-soo interrogate Juntae. Juntae keeps Ha-bin's name out of his statement. Eo-jin and Dae-hong visit Soo-hyan's house and find a similar keychain there. They find a photo of Soo-hyan with another girl, but the latter's face is destroyed. Ha-bin calls Young-min to meet and offers to help him get the cops off his tail. Dae-hong tells Eo-jin that he is worried for Eun-jin's safety and wants to check up on her. Eo-jin tells him that he's done his job as a profiler, but Dae-hong feels guilty for what must have happened to Eun-jin. That night, an ambulance rushes to pick up Young-min after a suicide attempt. Young-won and Tae-soo try to explain to Suk-moon that something about this is off, but Suk-moon asks the cops to double down on finding relevant evidence. At Young-min's, Dae-hong runs into Do-yoon. He asks the boy if he knows Eun-jin and shows him a photo of Soo-hyan. Do-yoon panics and backs away. Eun-jin shows up with bruises all over her face. Dae-hong offers to help her stay at a different place and asks Eun-jin to report Young-min. Eun-jin asks Dae-hong to stop making empty promises and goes inside the basement apartment. The cops learn that a man has been looking desperately for Soo-hyan. Young-won shows up at the man's house but cannot get in touch with him. At the hospital, Young-min manages to escape and Tae-soo informs the cops about the same thing. Young-soo puts a citywide alert to stop the taxi that Young-min was riding in too. At the police station, Eo-jin shows Young-won the photo of Soo-hyan with her friend. They notice that Soo-hyan is holding a phone in the photo, contrary to the statements from the runaway kids that she did not have one. Tae-soo recognizes the girl with her face scratched out as Ha-bin, but doesn't tell the cops. That night, Juntae shows to meet Sun-hee and checks up on her. Young-min is shocked to see Ha-bin meet him at the spot where Min-ah was asked to collect the bag full of cash. She brings up Soo-hyan, which makes Young-min question her relationship with her. Tae-soo goes back inside Ha-bin's room when he gets a call about Ha-bin's most dialed number. Ha-bin dialed 2 numbers over the last year, both registered under the name Ji-soo. Tae-soo dials the number and hears the phone ringing inside one of the drawers in Ha-bin's study. Young-min accuses Ha-bin of killing Min-ah for trying to extort money from her mother, Ji-soo. Young-min shows her a video on his phone while Tae-soo opens the drawer and finds Soo-hyan's phone inside. The video playing on Young-min's phone shows Ji-soo digging up a grave in the forest with Soo-hyan's lifeless body beside her. This episode has me worried over where things will go next week, as things are just getting all the more twisted. Now we have a biker lurking around who has been looking for Soo-hyan. But Juntae, the teacher who taught Soo-hyan and Ha-bin, also has a bike. He somehow also has a romantic relationship with Sun-hee, who is possibly involved with Young-min. Everything is so twisted and confusing that I wish this show released all episodes at the same time instead of making this a weekly show. Viewers are left with so many questions, and it looks like Ha-bin is going to uncover a lot of nasty details about her mother. I worry that Ji-soo is covering up for Ha-bin after she killed Soo-hyan without even realizing it. Ha-bin seems to have some mental health issues which cause her to commit serious crimes without remembering them. This is quite unlikely, and Ha-bin may come out innocent of killing anyone by the end of this show, as Tae-soo struggles to keep faith in his daughter despite the odds being against her.